As I mentioned also before, we are in a collaboration. We have to provide access rights. So, of course, we can't work on an exclusive basis. Here we are always talking about access rights, non-exclusive access rights. This is clearly the starting point. And no sublicense are possible except if the participant in the project agreement agree to provide some sublicenses. So it's up to the participant to decide, depending on what they would like to achieve, depending on the objective of the project. It's up to the participant. So that's the reason why it was clearly, from the beginning, decided to provide a general framework and also, besides that, to provide, to a certain extent, some flexibility to the participant, because only each consortium may decide what can fit the best to the objective of the project and to their interests. And in any case, if one of the participants terminates his participation before the end of the project, it will not affect the different rights and obligations linked to the access right. So we, as mentioned, we provide a guiding framework for the different participants, but also for affiliate and for third party. If you participate in other EU programs, you may be perhaps a bit surprised by this idea of having third party, but you probably remember yesterday that the idea is to ensure a swift dissemination of the knowledge and also to ensure an easy access to the patient, to different parties that may be involved in developing the different drugs. So consequently, that's the reason why in IMI it has been foreseen to provide some provision concerning the third party, and notably the possibility for this third party to have an access to the foreground that has been developed during an IMI project. This different access right may be granted on a royalty-free basis, on fair and reasonable terms, or have to be negotiated on a case-by-case basis. So here we have a table which summarizes the different options. So for some of them, we are not faced to an option. As you could see, when we are faced to access right, to background and foreground that are needed to complete the project, they have to be granted by the different participants to the other participant and the affiliate involved in this in the process on a royalty-free basis. But concerning the access right to be provided to the background and the foreground for research use purposes, here the participants are faced to an option, and it is up to each consortium to consider which option is the best. But it doesn't imply that you have to systematically apply one option for all background or for all foreground. You may dissociate, as an example, different type of foreground and different type of background, mentioning that for this foreground or this background, this was a background, so I consider that it will be granted on a royalty-free basis. But for another background, I consider that I need some fair and reasonable rewarding. So that's the reason why it has to be decided by the partner, and that's the reason why this option has been left to the consortium. Concerning the access right to background and foreground for research use, but now for the benefit of third party, it has to be negotiated on fair and reasonable terms. We are clearly here in line with the objective of IMI to ensure a swift dissemination and an easy access to the result of the project, IMI project. And concerning the access right for direct exploitation, because of this commercialization aspect, they have to be negotiated on a case-by-case basis. Concerning the sideground, the IMI policy doesn't foresee any specific thing. It is up to the participant to decide whether they consider a need to foresee some access right to the sideground or not. But if they consider that there is no need, there is no minimum rule concerning access right to sideground for whatever purposes. So we have talked about access right for research use, for completing the project, for direct exploitation, but of course, if we would like to be aligned with the IMI objective, we have also to think about dissemination. Concerning the dissemination, there is a general obligation for each of the participants to disseminate the foreground as reasonably as practicable. But it is also, it may be possible that within 1 year, following the termination of the project, the participants, the consortium as a whole, wasn't in a position to properly disseminate the foreground. So consequently, the consortium will have to inform the IMI office and also to explain the reason why, but just to explain and also not only explain the reason why, but also explain what are the objectives concerning the dissemination of these different foreground, and also to explain which type of foreground the consortium would like to disseminate and how. So that's clearly the last point of this IMI policy. So if we are back to our scheme, the one policy, multiple interest, we could see that we have to ensure the participation of different stakeholders, but also to ensure dissemination of the information by putting in the public domain data if possible, also to ensure fair compensation concerning the background, concerning the foreground, depending on the objective of the project, but also in the interest of the participant, up to them to decide. And we have also, of course, all this IP policy has to support the EU industry. Thank you very much. I think that now we will have an open discussion with different persons involved. So let's start.